So in this lesson, we're going to go over how to divide a fraction by a whole number. We'll go over each of our rules here, and then we've got 3 examples that we've got to go over. We'll make sure we do it nice and slow with plenty of details, because we want to make sure that you don't just get this, but that you master this. Coming up on the Math Review. So what I'm going to do instead of just reading off each of these 5 rules is I'm going to go over this first example here. And as I go over this example, I'll go over each of the rules that we need to use. So let's begin. Here we have 7 over 8 divided by 3. Rule 1 says to make sure we convert any whole numbers we have in our problem to fractions by putting them over 1. Here's what that means. This 7 over 8 is a fraction. This 3 is not a fraction. It's a whole number. And since it's a whole number, we're going to turn it into a fraction by putting it over 1. So that's going to make it a fraction. So this 3 is no longer just going to be 3. It's going to be 3 over 1. Step 2 is to use a process called KCF to create a multiplication problem. And KCF stands for keep, change, and flip. We're going to keep our first fraction, we're going to change our division to multiplication, and we're going to flip this fraction so that the top becomes the bottom and the bottom becomes the top. What I like to do is be neat with my work and make a little chart that says KCF. So here we've got 7 over 8. Since that's in the K column, we're going to keep it exactly like it is. So underneath, I'll write 7 over 8. Underneath our division symbol, we have the letter C. And that C stands for change. We'll change it how? We're going to change it from division to multiplication. So let's write the multiplication symbol right here. And finally, F stands for flip. So now here where it says 3 over 1, I'm going to make the top the bottom and the bottom the top. So instead of writing it as 3 over 1, we're going to write it as the flip form 1 over 3. So now that we have everything set up, we can go to step 3, which is to multiply the numerators. And in case you don't remember, the numerators are just the tops of the fractions. So let's do exactly what step 3 says. Let's multiply the numerators. We've got 7 times 1 equals 7. Now we can go to rule 4, which is to multiply the denominators. And in case you don't remember, the denominators are just the bottoms of the fractions. So we'll put our line, and then we'll multiply the bottoms of our fractions. 8 times 3. And what's 8 times 3? Well, that's 24. And then we can go to step 5, which is to reduce if possible. But in this case, it's not possible because there's no number that can divide both 7 and 24. So therefore, we're finished with our first example. So if you feel like you've got it, you can pause the video and try the next 2 examples on your own. Good luck! So just like our first example, let's stick with the rules that we used before. Rule number 1 is to convert any whole numbers into fractions by putting them over 1. 1 over 5 is already a fraction, but 9 is not. So in order to make it a fraction, I'll make sure I put it over 1. Next, I'll go to step 2, which is to use KCF to create a multiplication problem. So let's set up our table just like we did over here. The K stands for keep. So this fraction here, 1 over 5, I'm going to keep it exactly the way it is. This C stands for change. And we're changing our division into multiplication. So here I'll put a multiplication symbol. And the F stands for flip. That means this 9 over 1, I'm going to switch it. So it's not 9 over 1 anymore, but 1 over 9. Now we can go to step 3, which is to multiply our numerators. And remember, the numerators are just the tops of our fractions. So I'm going to multiply 1 times 1. And that's pretty easy, that's just 1. Then we go to step 4, which is to multiply our denominators, which again are just the bottoms of the fractions. So we've got 5 times 9. and that's 45. And then we go to step 5, which is just to reduce if it's actually possible. But here we can't reduce, so therefore we're done. And the answer for 1 over 5 divided by 9 over 1 is 1 over 45. So if you thought that question was super easy, make sure you hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more of our math videos coming up. So now let's go to our last example. 2 over 7 divided by 15. We'll start with rule number 1, which is to convert any whole numbers into fractions by putting them over 1. 2 over 7 is already a fraction, so we don't have to do anything there. But 15 is a whole number. So to make it a fraction, we have to make sure we put it over 1. Now we can go to rule 2, which is to use KCF to create a multiplication problem. So let's set up a KCF table just like we did with the last two examples. Remember that KCF stands for keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep the first fraction the same, we're going to change our division into multiplication, and we're going to flip our fraction so that the top is on the bottom and the bottom is on the top. Again, the K stands for keep, so we'll keep 2 over 7 exactly the same. The C stands for change, so we'll change this division into multiplication. And the F stands for flip. Right now, the top is 15 and the bottom is 1. But here, I'm going to flip it, so the 1 is on top and the 15 is on the bottom. That'll give us 1 over 15. So now we can go to rule 3, which is to multiply the numerators, and the numerators are just the tops of our fractions. Here we've got 2, and here we've got 1. So 2 times 1 equals 2. And then we go to step 4, which is to multiply our denominators. So our denominator here is 7. Our denominator here is 15. Now that math's going to require a little bit of work, so I'm going to scroll up a little bit. So let's set up a little work area first. So remember, we're multiplying 15 times 7. So let's put that over here. So first I'll multiply 7 times 5, which is 35. I'll bring down the 5 and I'll carry the 3. And then we've got 7 times 1, which is 7. Plus this 3 here is 10. So that means that the result, or product, of 7 times 15 is 105. Now we go to step 5, which is to reduce if possible, and that's not possible here because there's no number that can divide both 2 and 105. So therefore, our quotient of 2 over 7 divided by 15 over 1 is 2 over 105. And remember, if you have any questions at all, we love to help. So make sure you leave them in the comments below. And to make sure you don't miss any more great math videos that we're making, make sure you subscribe and you like this video and our other videos. We want to help you as much as possible. Thanks for watching.